So hello everyone, I'm Songyee from NCSoft. I was not sure that how much of you are familiar with online gaming and like MMORPG and all that terminology, so I kind of prepared something quite introductory. So please feel free to stop me anytime and kind of raise hand and ask questions if you feel this is kind of too boring. So I'll start with introduction to NCSoft, because probably most of you don't know about our company. NCSoft is a company that develops and publishes mostly MMORPG online games. These are kind of some of the games that we developed and published over the course of last 17 years. And so accumulated number of users who played our game is about 1.8 billion worldwide, and most of them are Korean, Chinese, and other Asian countries players. So online game is a game that you probably know that like millions of users connect the server at the same time, and they interact in a free style, and a lot of interesting things happen because of that setting. And I think that the fact that there are a lot of people interacting in a single setting that was provided by the developers gives it a kind of unique gives you a kind of unique perspective to look at it as kind of a platform. The game itself for us is a kind of platform that we run business. And I think that because of that, there are a lot of interesting implications that as a game publisher, that we do a lot of some strategies and tactics to make it more rich or kind of fun to the users and have interesting implications to those who are looking at platform-based businesses. So I think there are so in the world, there are people who play online game who do not, and people who do not play the online game. So like people who play online game live in a kind of virtual world that people outside of the game don't really understand why that's so important. I'm going to show you some examples of what can happen in online world because of this setting. So I don't know how to play. Is it? I'm going to play the video. Yeah. So this is one of the kind of very interesting incident that happened on our game service called the Lineage 2. When we launched the game Lineage 2, there are like 30-something servers at the beginning. And one of the servers called Bart's was the very popular server. And there are like 30-something clans on Bart's server, and they became very strong, kind of dominant clan on the server. And they became so much of like showing off their power so that they kind of dominated the kind of hunting ground they're supposed to be shared by others. So they raised a tax, they kind of monopolized the hunting ground. It made other clans get upset. So other clans form ally and fought against the DK, which was the strongest clan on the server. And it became very well known to outside of the server. So like the clans from the other servers rushed into the server and fought against the DK clan. So it became very famous revolutionary war that and it was in a kind of public media and like newspapers, and like it lasted about 3 years. And over the course of 3 years, the ally won, and they kind of reflect on themselves, thinking like, why are we fighting? What are we fighting for? So they kind of dismantled. So DK clan came back, and they kind of monopolized the server again, and like it kind of repeated, and 3 years later, the leader of the DK clan retired from the game. So, and it kind of caught attention from the like political scientists and sociologists because it kind of mimics so much what actually happens in the real world and kind of the motivations of why they gather, what are the motivations, how they interact, and all that gave very interesting implications. But really another famous incident happened on another game called, yeah, another game called, oh wow. So you probably know World of Warcraft, and when a new boss monster called Hacker was introduced, it was supposed to give some kind of debuff to some of the players. And kind of it was supposed to last for a short period of time while they're playing or fighting against the boss monster. But because of programming error, it stayed on the users, and they could even spread it over to other users like a real disease. So what happened was very interesting. Is some users kind of ran off to spread the disease more. Some users started selling some fake potions, saying that it's going to cure. And some kind of healers voluntarily kind of cure the other infected players. So the kind of reactions and kind of what they actually did in the game was very interesting, and it caught attention of a lot of physicians. They wrote articles, journal articles about it, and compared how SARS spread in the real world versus in WoW servers. And I think the Department of Disease Control and Prevention contacted them for further study, but they said they're not going to share the data because it's just a kind of programming bug. So there are a lot of interesting things every day happen in online world and online games. And for us, it's a massive platform of millions of users. And people, when they talk about the platform business, they think they talk about there are certain things, we talk about a lot of interesting things today. And in particular, these are the kind of components they can emphasize. They provide a connection between the providers and the participants, and how easily the participant can plug into the platform and get the benefit out of the platform. And gravity, what are the factors that make the users come back to the platform? And flow is something that kind of, through the interaction of the participants, what are the extra values that can be created out of that platform? And I think that these are, although the online game publishers didn't know explicitly about platform businesses and all those fancy terms, that's what they have been doing over the last 15 years. So, for example, that connectivity. So this is one of the examples that in the morning, someone talked about that WoW Guild is the best learning platform. And we know that forming a guild and enabling people to form a guild in the game is essential for the retention. There is a statistics that we studied that if a player knows more than 6 people in the game, their retention rate kind of jumps compared to people who know 5 or less number of other users. So we provide all those tools that they can form a guild, and we provide the guild rooms and kind of chatting rooms only for the guilds. And all this kind of information right after they play a game, they get this in real time. If they conquered a mission with someone that they never met before, they would like to know who they were. So when they log onto their website, they can get the information of who you played with, how we can contact, and what are the kind of skills they used, etc. And you can contact them individually and to get the real contact outside the game if you'd like to. And gravity. And I think the game itself is, we develop game for fun and entertainment. So even if we do not create extra value, people will come back to play the game because it's fun. But on top of that, we do have like big data analysis in real time that we kind of analyze terabytes of data every day to provide this interesting statistics. For example, that whenever you log out of the game for a day, you can get this statistics in real time that you were the first to conquer that mission in the shortest amount of time on the server, or you are the 17th person to get the like shiny green gem on the server, or something that makes you feel really special about it. And kind of those are the things that can make users attach the game and attach the world and come back to the playground. And I think that another important aspect we talked about was how kind of openness of the platform. So with openness of platform, that's also referred to as flow. What kind of additional fun or value that users can create using the tools that we can provide. So these are some of the kind of most successful games for each genre of the game. And the common factors of those successful games are they provide tools for customization, whether it's UI customization, whether it's kind of editing map, or whether it's recording ability over your play so that you can share it with YouTube. They all provide the tools that you can go beyond what's given to you by the game developers. One of the most interesting, fascinating example is probably League of Legends and Dota 2. These two are the games that opened the new genre called MOBA games. Multiplayer online battle arena is a MOBA game. And actually, how they started was very interesting because the StarCraft was a real-time strategy game about 10 years ago, and it was dominating game. And two of the players created a map called Dota using the map editing tool that's provided by Blizzard. And it became very popular among StarCraft users that they knew that it has a big potential. So those two players formed a company, and now they split, but each contributed founding these two games called League of Legends and Dota 2, and their revenue from last year by itself is much bigger than accumulated revenue from StarCraft. So this is kind of how much potential that providing the right tool can lead to excitement and value creation that you can do. So I think that, so this is kind of why we think that online game itself is a kind of very interesting platform for business. And we all know that platform is open. I mean, sometimes platform is often used to kind of mirror as very technical terms like iOS, like Android, or whatever is a platform. But in reality, we believe that platform is the aggregation of the loyal customers, like where the customers are aggregated and they can interact with, and they can create interesting interactions and value, that it truly is a more meaningful definition or angle of the platform that we should look at. This is another example that's not necessarily about game, but I think it kind of tells explains this message. These are kind of online messengers. So like before mobile platform became very dominant, online messengers are very successful applications on PC. So when I looked at the data, like market share data, like these are like Buddy Messenger, NetOn, and MSN Messenger, and NetOn had like dominant market share in the Korean market. But if you look at the market share for each age segment, Buddy was kind of had the 80% of the market share for teenagers, whereas people in 20s mostly used the NetOn, and like people who are like 30 or older used MSN messengers. What it led to was when they were thinking about business expansion and growth, it kind of defined like who the loyal customers are, defined their growth opportunities. So for example, what was successful with the Buddy Messenger, they could only sell like avatars, virtual goods, or that are kind of appealing to the teenage, they are loyal customers. Whereas Naton could expand their business to commerce or game or coupon sales that people in 20s are kind of willing to consume and have an appetite for. MSN couldn't really expand much out of Messenger business because their user base was not had a good appetite for that kind of consumption. So I think that when we talk about platform, we talk about technology cut, we talk about services, but what really matters to us and to thinking about Stairs is what kind of customers that you have gathered and what is the kind of characteristic that they want. And that also defines the strength and value of the platform that you're looking at. And that's probably why that as a game publisher, we pay a lot of attention to like game masters and community managers that are sometimes labor intensive, but kind of try to have a very tight link to our customers and keep them entertained and satisfied. So this is it for me. And do you have any questions? Okay.
I've always wondered whether or not video game publishers, creators would ever want a portion of the revenue derived from Twitch broadcasting essentially their content in one way or another.
Or a revenue drive?
Yeah, Twitch is making, well, probably decent money, but Twitch will theoretically only make more and more money off of the broadcasts, which are derived off of the video games that you're creating. So I've wondered if video game creators, publishers have thought about whether or not technically their IP is being monetized without them seeing a portion of that revenue.
Yeah, I think until today, we have a very good kind of win-win situation because it's kind of a marketing tool for us too. And so we arrange a lot of marketing events when we launch a game. So we try to create kind of value by working together. We don't kind of necessarily view that they're using our IP.
So I really enjoyed your comment on paying a lot of attention to the game masters and the people who are curating, if you will, the platform and the experience. And maybe you could just say a little bit more about how you motivate them to keep them engaged, because you have this whole group of people. In full confession, my son has spent hundreds of hours of doing this kind of management and curation on servers. So I'm interested in sort of your perspective on motivating that sort of vast group of people who add so much value.
Motivating the users or motivating the game masters?
The game masters. Game
masters. So it really depends on geography. In some countries, we have permanent hires who are game masters. In some countries, game masters are voluntary kind of volunteers. But we provide them kind of tools that they can feel special. So like sometimes they call kind of game master event, and they kind of arrange a meeting with a lot of users and kind of do certain things. And it kind of, it's pretty much voluntary and kind of access to the special tools and services make them more satisfied.
So, hi, thanks for the presentation. This is very interesting. I have a question related to WildStar, your most recent launch, because it's been on the radar for a lot of people. But so, you say that it's all about the users, right? And I think, say, a company like Riot echoes that same sentiment by saying it's about users and not about revenue. So the question is this: NCSoft has done really well in both free-to-play and subscription-based monetization schemes. So what's the rationale for launching WildStar with initially a subscription-based model?
Very specific questions. Yeah, but we have another payment method called Create. So I mean, every time we kind of do, every time we try to do some kind of innovation. And we look at the target customers. And for WildStar, for now at least, is more of the hardcore user targeted rather than casual users. And they are not, some hardcore users prefer a subscription community. And credit is some other method that we kind of allow them to play a certain amount of time that can earn the right to play for without subscription. So we think that that's kind of hybrid that kind of meets the target customers of WildStar as it stands today, and kind of, yeah, that's how we chose that business model.
I really appreciate this. You know, as a kid, I loved playing games, and now it's coming into a full circle. Working in the pharmaceutical industry, and specifically on CNS drugs, there's a lot of activity in developing games to enhance cognition. I was just wondering, you know, if you have any thoughts on how those games are developed, or how gaming companies can align with some of these Lumosities of the world, or some of these other smaller companies to really bring these out and forward for the patients.
How do we align that?
Yeah. So I mean, to make it more dominant or relevant, right? Some of the questions that we have as an industry is, is this sustainable? Is this has this looked at all the technical aspects of building a game to bring it out to the patients? Are there things that your industry is looking at to take advantage of some of these cognitive enhancer games that are more for patients rather than what I call healthy volunteers? I
mean that's one of our foundation work. So like we have NSoft Foundation that kind of focuses on developing games for currently targeting the kids with the cognitive development disabilities. So we work with doctors that and develop some kind of simple games that can actually help the kids with communication difficulties or cognitive development needs. And it takes a lot of time because to kind of verify that whether it really is clinically effective and it works, it takes time for even like smaller changes. So it's hard to claim that it really is effective, but I think over time, we'll have something quite meaningful that even if it's not clinically proved, families appreciate those softwares and applications when they see that it kind of helps the communication with their own children. And we think this is kind of very interesting. I mean, and also it's a very interesting platform for us that we are building a kind of virtual world in a sense. So we talked about education platforms, and as a matter of fact, we're kind of expanding it to education platform too. So we build like MMO world where kids can interact with each other as an avatar, but they have to follow certain kind of lessons of the day, etc. And we get initial feedbacks like from teachers saying that, oh, I've been teaching the kids of this age for like 20 years and I've never seen them concentrate on this for like more than 2 hours, and it's fantastic. So I think that it's a lot of potential that we are using this format and tool for other applications other than just a game.
The idea of game masters and community managers seems really important and very integral to the nature of the success of the games. Do you think there are good opportunities for that same kind of role in other platforms like some of the ones we've heard about today? For example, for blurb in book publishing, or for Jawbone in community management and health maintenance, or in Elance and Odesk. What role might community managers play in platforms of that type?
I think in other industries, it's often referred as curating services. Like Facebook is going, it seems like, I don't know like exact stories, but like Facebook is kind of putting the interesting feeds from the friends and like interesting feeds that might be interesting to you. So like it kind of curates what you are looking at. And some of it can be automated and some of it kind of can be done manually. And I think in other industries, that kind of curating factor is like many people are paying attention to.
Terrific. Thank you so much.